Rates. A rate is a ratio of two measures that have different units. For example, um, you could compare miles to seconds. So if you travel 15 miles for every 3 seconds, that could be a rate. And then a unit rate would be a similar comparison, only the denominator is going to be 1. So it could be, let's say, 55 miles per every 1 hour. Okay, so a unit rate, the word unit is 1, and that's referring to our denominator. So it's still going to be comparing two different measurements, but the numerator is going to be one number, and the denominator in a unit rate is always 1. So for this lesson, we're going to explore writing equivalent rates as well as writing unit rates. So an equivalent rate, well, you've seen equivalent fractions before. An equivalent rate is very similar to that. And the way we can do that, well, let's use this first one, 15 miles for every 3 seconds. If we were to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 10, we would get 150 miles, 150 miles for every 30 seconds. And that would be equivalent. They could both be simplified to the same fraction. And they could be simplified if you divide them both. Well, if you take the original 15 over 3 and divide it by 3, you would get 5 over 1, or just 5. So it'd be 5 miles per every second, and that would actually be a unit rate. So 5 miles per second. And then this other one, 150 miles per 30 seconds. And I misspelled seconds there. There's an N. So seconds, 150 miles per 30 seconds can also be reduced to 5. So 5 miles per second. Okay, so that's unit rate. Let's do another one. Let's say we have 20, or let's do an equivalent rate. If we have 5 pounds, let's say we go shopping and there's a 5-pound bag of something for $10. And we want to figure out, well, how much is 20 pounds going to cost? So we can do that with an equivalent rate. So if 5 pounds cost $10, then 20 pounds would cost how many dollars? Well, how do we get from a 5 to a 20? Well, we multiply it by 4. So if we multiply 5 times 4, we get 20. And if you do the same thing to the denominator, multiply $10 times 4, you would get 40. So $40. So if 5 pounds cost $10, 20 pounds would cost $40, as long as it's the same rate. So we would buy 4 bags for $40. Okay, another example. Let's do one with a unit rate. Okay, let's say we're going on a road trip and it's 220 miles. And it's going to take us 4 hours to get there. So here's our car. Here's our car, and we're driving 220 miles. And it's going to take us 4 hours. So our rate is going to be 220 miles per 4 hours. And we want to find out how fast are we going? How many miles per hour? We want to find the unit rate. So find the unit rate. Well, what we're going to have to do is remember a unit rate has a 1 in the denominator. So we want to change it so that it has 1 hour as the denominator. And the way we get there is 4 hours divided by 4 will give us 1. So if we divide the denominator by 4, we also have to divide the numerator by 4. So we have 220 divided by 4, which would be, well, 4 goes into 22 5 times. That'll give us 20. 22 minus 20 is 2. Then you bring down the 0, and you have 4 goes into 20 5 times. Okay, so we get 55. So 220 divided by 4 is 55. And that's in miles. So our unit rate is going to be 55 miles per hour. Per 1 hour. And that's our answer. So now you've seen equivalent rates. You've also seen finding unit rates.